If you've been running the business for 20 years, just like you said, and you're in the same place, you're not that good. So
you're not.
Drop your ego and be willing to learn. There's a difference between you and where you are in business and someone who's in a worse location, started their company with less money, and is now doing better than you are. And it's not because they have a better marketing agency or better conversational AI tools. It's because they're a better entrepreneur. I realize we talk about business concepts a lot, but not a lot of people know what Active Solutions is. There's probably a few different ways we could break it down because all the clients that we work with are like all over the place. But what do you think if someone asks you, what do you guys do? How do you help businesses scale? What would you say?
I feel like the CEO should probably answer that question, but I would say that obviously AI is a huge, I would say, tool that we use in our business, but that's not everything that we do. I would say that we would take a look at your existing business and your current processes and enhance it with AI. And like you said, it could be like a number of things because we do so many things for so many different niches. But I'd say in a nutshell, like we take a look at your business and its current processes and enhance every step of the funnel because most of our clients are either running some sort of paid acquisition or we're monitoring that for them and utilizing AI as a tool to enhance whether it's like the appointment booking process, nurturing, attribution systems, and then essentially sales processes. But I want to kind of play like the Uno reverse card. What do you think
100%.
Active Solutions is?
So here, I want to try to be as specific as possible, just so like if anyone was watching this and needed to know what we did, that it was very obvious. Let's go tagline first. One of our biggest missions is to make enterprise solutions attainable for small businesses. There are a lot of people who start businesses and they don't have access to these enterprise solutions, or they're not able to scale, or they have to go through the time that it takes to kind of discover the tools that they need to use to scale, right? And we try to shorten that learning curve.
Yeah.
One of the things that I pride ourselves on is the acquisition funnel, which I talk about a lot. So you have 4 stages to the acquisition funnel, which is a concept that I would say that obviously it's always been around, but I created like the concept of the acquisition funnel just to make it easier to understand for our clients specifically. And it's stage number 1 is leads, 2 is appointments, 3 is shows, and 4 is closes. And there are specific SOPs and bottlenecks that are going to occur in any business when you're building an acquisition process, right? Where either you can't generate leads, or you can't get your leads to book appointments, or you have a show rate issue and those appointments don't show, or you have a close rate issue and none of those showing or live calls are closing. So we start from top of funnel to bottom of funnel, and we leverage AI to increase the number of leads generated and quality leads generated, to increase the number of those leads that book appointments, increase the number of the leads that show up to their appointments, and increase the number of leads that close, because it starts at the top of the funnel, bring in higher quality leads. So we leverage AI, things like conversational AI or AI attribution systems that find higher quality leads, to fix all of the bottlenecks in the acquisition funnel. I would say that is it doesn't sound simple, but that's the easiest way to break down what we do.
Yeah, but I like that you put enterprise solutions for small businesses, because when you think of consulting or acquisition, you think of Alex and Layla Hermosi, portfolio companies. But I mean, we really are doing something similar, right? Like we're going and breaking in people's processes or breaking down their processes. So like, for example, if we start top of funnel, so we can kind of just discuss like all 4 layers of that. So top of funnel would be generating the leads. I personally think that's the easiest part of the whole process. But I think there also is a difference between marketing versus lead generation. And that is almost one of my main priorities when it comes to expectations when we are running marketing or lead generation campaigns for our clients, because we get a lot of people that have marketing teams in their business. And I have a hard time sometimes collaborating with them because they're like, well, the logo's not even in the picture or like on the ad, or it's not like our brand's colors. And as much as I want to sit there and say, well, none of that shit matters, sometimes I'm like, okay, like we can add your logo and we can add your colors. Sure. There's no data to support that because your logo or because these colors are utilized, that's going to generate leads and make people actually follow into the call to action.
I think that's actually a really important concept to talk about that everybody should know whenever you are starting a business. So the idea of marketing or brand awareness or whatever, most marketing teams, whenever we start working with companies that already have marketing teams, and we're working on like the lead generation aspect, if they were going to start generating leads, what they would do is put a picture of their logo and then put their tagline or the name of their business, and then they would just put money behind it. And there it is. But people do not care about who you are because they don't know who you are.
Yeah, they don't know who you are.
People have problems and they want those problems solved.
Right.
So you have to be able to get someone's attention by creating a pain point and then showing how you can solve that issue specifically. And that's all we're trying to do with lead generation. You have a problem, we can solve it. That is all people care about. People don't care about who you are, what your logo looks like, what your website looks like, none of that. People do not care, especially in the beginning. Yep. Once you built a brand and you have like a following, then everybody will start to kind of see your logo, see your brand, and associate that with what you've done for other companies. So acquisition.com is perfect, right? So Alex and Layla Ramosi. People see acquisition.com, they know that that is associated with Alex and Layla Ramosi, and they know that they are associated with building companies and selling them.
Right.
But most people, almost all people, don't have that audience yet.
Yeah.
And you should always be working on it. But if you're trying to generate leads, do not just put a picture of your logo up and put money behind it because it will never work.
Yeah. And I think it's also the opposite too. We get a lot of people that have grown very successful businesses organically, and then they want to do paid acquisition. So they're like, well, I can just put my face on the ad. And I'm like, sorry to break it to you, but nobody knows who you are. And unfortunately, like, guys like Patrick Bet-David and Tony Robbins, those guys are still running paid ads too. And it's just nice that they were able to kind of grow their organic brand, which helps their paid acquisition. But I think the common misconception is like, we're trying to create some sort of pain, calling out the audience that you're looking to attract, and we want them to take action. That's like the biggest thing that we want to happen. It's not just about seeing your ads or just looking at something that's pretty and enticing. They need to take action, right? So when we build out offers for people, I think that's almost the hardest part about lead generation is just making sure that they have a strong offer, we're calling out the right individuals, and that it's going to perform. So once we consult the front end, then we bring them to a lead form and then a booking form. So can you kind of explain, I guess, because obviously you take care of most of like just the marketing sector. You oversee that department in our business so much, but what is the concept behind putting up a lead form versus not, and just bringing somebody like directly to a booking page or something?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I always use the concept of, and I say this all the time, you want to let everybody in through the front door, especially if you're a small business. Now, if you're larger, you have a bigger budget, and you start to get to the point whenever you've scaled to and you have a sales team where the time that your sales team is utilizing actually becomes more and more valuable, especially as you're spending more money on ads, you're generating leads, et cetera. But in the beginning, I think that you want to let everybody in through the front door, but don't let everybody see the kitchen. So the lead form is meant to, so you put your offer out there, right? You say, hey, you have this problem. I can solve it. Sign up if you're interested. People submit their information saying, hey, contact me. And then you have an automatic redirect to the calendar booking. Right away, you're going to have people with higher intent move to the calendar, and we always attach some type of form to that calendar so that they can answer some questions, etc., to show that all the people that are booking are actually somewhat interested. Maybe even put some short answer questions so they actually have to type out responses, whatever it might be.
Right.
So then roughly, if you set the ad up correctly, I would say 7 to 12% of people will walk themselves onto your calendar after they opt in. They'll just keep going through the process, because once you're already invested, it makes it easier to walk a couple more steps. Right. The goal is to collect the person's information, see which ones are higher intent that actually walk themselves onto your calendar, and then the 90% that didn't and only submitted their information, you still have their information.
Right.
So now your team or yourself can start reaching out to these leads.
Or AI.
Can start reaching out to these leads. You can set up nurture campaigns, text message campaigns.
Just need like a little more nurturing to get to that place.
Some people need a little bit of foreplay or encouraging before they actually make it to the booking part.
Yeah.
Ideally, I'd say, and this is from industry to industry, it gets a little bit different, but I'd say you want to try to get at least 17 to 20% of your leads to schedule an appointment.
Yeah, like self-book, straight from the ads.
No. Like if you are, and this is like bare minimum, 20% of your leads, if you generate 100 leads, 20% of them should end up being an appointment if you set everything up correctly. 7 to 12% are people that should take themselves through the process by themselves.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think also when it comes to qualification, I think that term is thrown around way too much in this space, because wouldn't it be great for every single lead that comes through your pipeline to have their credit card waving their hand ready to pay you and is the most qualified lead? If anybody can do that, sign me the fuck up. But I think the common misconception is that we get so many people that are like, okay, I want to run lead generation campaigns, but I only want quality leads. Okay, so I think everybody has a different version of what quality leads are, but I love the idea of the lead form. So it's like we capture their information no matter what. There needs to be a way for us to control that communication channel. So if we have access to their cell phone number and their email, cool. Even if it's auto-populated, our clients are always like gung-ho about that. They're like, well, it's auto-populated. And I'm like, okay, with their personal information, because your iPhone is recognizing that that's like their personal information.
Yeah.
And then once they get to the booking page, it's like they see your calendar. Maybe it's on a landing page that has a whole bunch of credibility about who you are, testimonials, right? Doing everything that you can to make yourself look cooler than you actually are, right? But then the questions, we have so many people that are like, well, I need to financially qualify these people to make sure that I'm not wasting my time. But this goes specifically to smaller businesses. If you're trying to leverage the amount of opportunities that you have, there is no way. First, you don't have the budget to qualify that hard.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah. And secondly, you need to practice, so like you said, just let everybody in, have the conversations, and then you'll be able to like really niche down and look at, okay, this is the type of person that I now want to talk to. And then kind of start asking those harder questions. So would you agree that qualifying people a little too hard on the front end and creating too much friction can actually like really decrease the amount of opportunities that you have at the end of the day?
100,000%. Absolutely. So when you start qualifying on the front end, there are people who are not going to give you the time of day, because this is cold traffic, right? And we're talking about specifically Facebook ads. That's what we specialize in.
Right.
So you're running Facebook ads to get someone who opened the app. They didn't open the app and go, I'm ready to look at ads today. Let's see what we got. Let's see what I'm going to sign up for. Like they're scrolling for other things. And you are you're catching their attention to distract them from something that they opened the app to do to begin with.
Right.
And now you're expecting them to tell you how much capital they have to invest in your service. Like that's not how this works.
Like, no, dude.
In the beginning, you have to get that person's information and engage their interest by like, if they went far enough to submit their information on a form after like reading your ad copy and seeing your video, etc., they're probably interested, right?
Yeah.
Even a little bit.
Right.
Any of those harder questions need to be asked on the phone, especially in the beginning. If you don't have a brand and you're just starting a business, it's probably easier for me to see how much capital you have to invest. If I called you on the phone, I cracked a joke in the beginning, I showed you that, I was a little human. We had a good conversation. I asked you, and I consulted with you on your business, asked a couple of questions. I was like, to be honest with you, we're pretty selective with who we work with, but just wanted to make sure with this, what type of budget do you have set aside to get something like this launched? People are much more likely to answer that question after they've spoken to you and went through your process than if you just slap that on the front end.
Yeah.
The problem with slapping it on the front end is that you're going to lose a lot of people right away.
Yep.
The people that do submit the form might only be high quality because they answered the question, but the cost per high quality lead is going to be so high.
Yeah, you just don't have the budget for it.
Exactly.
Most people don't.
Exactly. And you're missing out on, and your cost per acquisition, is just going to increase in general, which isn't a good thing. But you're missing out on the medium quality leads who just needed a little bit of nurturing and foreplay to make it to that next stage. Yeah. All those people are going to exit the form.
Yeah, I think it's just so frustrating though, because everyone's like, oh, well, I only want to talk to quality leads. I don't want to waste my time with people. Neither do we.
But here's another thing as well and this is specifically with us, how we try to help clients.
Yeah.
We're trying to help clients help businesses be more valuable. If you want to come in and you want only high quality leads, there is a service for that. And it's probably somewhere around $10,000. And they're using somebody on their team, or they're vetting someone out for you to become an appointment setter to qualify those people on the phone, right? If you don't want to do it yourself. So you either have to be willing to spend $10,000-ish and lose value in your business, because now majority of the operations in your business are relying on somebody else's business.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're giving you the tools that you're going to need anyway, right? So like a CRM, the conversational AI, and then the training that it takes to actually build those systems yourself so
in-house.
that exactly.
Yeah.
This in turn makes your business more valuable as you continue to scale it. It's going to be valued because you're relying on our systems a bit and using them as tools. But if you're using somebody else's entire business model and like all of their appointment setters to vet out your quality leads so that you have your perfect platter handed out to you whenever you come to your sales calls, you're relying on somebody else's business for your business to be successful. And if their business goes down, that's a huge liability if anybody else like private equity or whatever it might be looks at your business to see if it's even worth purchasing.
Word. And I think maybe that is like the biggest takeaway about the expectation that we set for the people that we work with. Because I would say that we are pretty close with the clients that we have. And like, we all follow each other. We all support each other, which has been really awesome. But the congruency of the mindset of like what we're trying to actually help them with sometimes, I don't know, gets a little muddy because they're like, well, why am I not like talking to high quality leads? Why are the people that are coming through the pipeline don't even know who we are or whatever the case is? It's not like once we set up ad campaigns that Facebook just automatically just targets your audience that you consider a high quality lead. Now, the next step of that is the AI attribution system. So yes, there is a way for us to track leads from opt-in to close and retarget that demographic. And we do everything that we can to increase the quality of the leads just through that attribution itself. But I think a lot of business owners don't realize the amount of work it takes to scale and have these processes in place. And I just wish that maybe more would understand that. And maybe that's just an expectation thing that we need to work on. But what do you feel like is kind of the best way to get somebody to understand this? You know what I'm saying? Because like you and I have had meetings, we've been on calls with all of our clients trying to do it, but sometimes it just like doesn't stick. Yeah.
I think part of it is a mindset thing. You can set the expectations as much as you want, but the entrepreneur has to be willing to receive that information as well. Everybody wants fast results. As much as you can do that if you are receptive to the information and the training that we provide and using the tools that we provide, like we can get people fast results. We've seen it. But you have to be, even if you're going to get fast results, you have to be willing to not. Because being an entrepreneur in general, nothing is set in stone. You have to be prepared to potentially and possibly spend 5 to 10 years doing something that doesn't work. And you just have to prep for that. You're going to lose money and you're going to lose time. But you have to also be ready to learn a shit ton of things in that 5 to 10 years. Like you have to absorb as much information as you have. You have to, or as you can, and you have to drop your ego to ground zero so that you can just absorb, learn, and progress. And I think when people go into it with the right mindset, that's when they get the faster results. Yeah. Because we've seen people, I'm not going to say his name because I don't know how comfortable he would with us doing that, but we had a client who followed our process to a T and he could not afford an appointment setter. So he acted like 2 people. He would pick up the phone and call the leads acting like one person with a different voice. And he would set the appointment for himself and then he would jump on the Zoom call. And I'm like, and he saw great results. And now he comments on all of our ads and he's like, these people are great. But I just think it's amazing to see someone who is that invested and took so much accountability. And then you saw where he got. And I would say
in such little time too.
Yeah. And I would say he was actually set up for not failure, but to succeed less than most of the clients we bring on.
He was a one-man team.
Way less capital to put into it, that he had least amount of ad spend, so little ad spend to put into the ads that we almost didn't take him as a client. And he saw more results because of his mindset to begin with.
That's so true. And the clients that see the most success with us are the clients that ask their setters to train with me, follow our processes to the T, and they do the work that's necessary. And it's so incredible to like obviously get the validation that, everything that we're teaching is real shit, but we also follow this to the T. So like back to the ads portions, we then bring them to a booking page just the same way. And now because we've been able to scale, we have a little bit more capital to put towards ad spend. So we do now qualify a little harder, I would say, not like, do you have at least $10,000 or something like that, but we at least ask the right questions and then we get them to book a call with our setter. So we implement a 2-step process. I feel like since all the trial and errors that we've ever had, the 2-step process has always been the best in terms of results. And I think it's because, yes, your closers should not waste time with tire kickers and people that aren't qualified. Closers should be focused on one thing, and that's selling. It's converting. right on the call, always, right? At least with the setter, it's kind of like the gatekeeper of the company. And I hate when people say that it's like a entry-level position. I heavily disagree because I think if these are the first line of defenses in your company and they're the first people that they're going to speak to from your company, if it's an entry level position that doesn't know jack shit about your product or service and can't hold a conversation, I, as a consumer, would be very turned off by that first conversation. So the setters that we train and work with, they have very high level conversations and they know everything about the product. The price is never discussed. That's an easy objection handle. And secondly, they provide so much value that when they go to book that call for the closer, that person is 100% showing up. A lot of people think that setters are just to set appointments. Like, yes, that is the reason why they even have the role in the business. But I think like as gatekeepers of the company, like they have one of the most important jobs. They have to call all of the leads. They have to have the conversations to get them to want to actually agree to book a call. And then third, they have to actually provide enough value so that it makes the prospect want to show up to the call.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. You know what a cool analogy is for this? You know how when you first meet someone, you kind of like go above and like a significant other type thing. You go like above and beyond to, get the flowers, and you don't always act yourself, right?
Yeah.
And even when you like take them out to eat, like you don't just eat like a monster, like you'll actually like clean up after yourself, and you're very presentable on the surface.
Sure.
Right? And that's kind of how the acquisition process should be. I think the prospects should be able to go through from ad to intro call to sales call. Like the prospect should be like, wow, like this company really has their shit together.
Yeah.
Like seeing every box needs to be checked on the front end. And I think the better you are at that, like if they speak to somebody, maybe throws them off a little bit or isn't good in conversation, they didn't have a good interaction, and then maybe they won't show up to the second call, or like the ad is like really low quality or whatever, like all of that comes into play because they're kind of formulating their own vision of like what your company is.
Yeah, of course.
And if you're a 10 out of 10 on every single interaction that they have with your company, are they willing to go on a second date?
Second date. Yeah, but that's all going around the idea of how much your first impression matters in business, in relationships. And there's a huge trust recession with online businesses, right? So how many other businesses are running a funnel? How many other businesses are running paid advertisement where they have all these stupid guarantees trying to get you hooked in on their services? So the way that we even train any setter that we've come across is like, how genuine is the conversation? That's what's going to outbeat you from the rest of the competition. Because guess what? There's a lot of horrible setters and closers that I've met, and we've like actually got on calls with because we were interested in their products. And it's like, nobody likes to be sold to. So that trust recession, like how you beat the market and how you beat your competitors is by having high level conversations that are the most genuine. So no, it's not just like calling them and immediately trying to sell them on something. Like talk to them like a real person.
Yeah.
So all the setters that I used to train, I used to say, hey, like what would be your approach? Taking the call, I'd listen and I'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't show up to that sales call. And they'd be so confused. They're like, well, I asked all the questions, all the qualifying questions. And I'm like, yeah, it feels like you're interrogating me. You know what I mean? Like versus like, I always start a genuine approach. I'm like, hey, Ashton, this is Angela with Active Solutions AI. How's it going? Instead of like, how are you today? Right? Like I'm not a fucking robot.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, here we go. Like this is an intro call. And I'm like, yeah, like you would imagine this is just to make sure it's the right fit. So is now still a good time?
Yeah.
Like, and they're just like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, so looked at your form. You're an insurance agent? That's amazing. How long you been doing insurance for? And they're like, okay, like they're really thrown off because they're like, why are you not trying to sell me something? And then we also qualify so much to the point where if we know we cannot help this person, I'm always like, hey, listen, I think you should just do this yourself. And they're very thrown off. And that makes them want to lean in even more.
Yeah. And they're like, wait.
They're like, wait, no. And I'm like, no, like for real. I don't think that you should outsource this right now. Like you just told me that you started your business 3 months ago. There's no reason you should be outsourcing any service. You need to just like get down to the nitty gritty things and learn it yourself. And then we invite them to our Skool community, which is great. Like place for people to have resources on how to learn how to like run Facebook ads and whatever. But I just think the genuineness of your approach and your conversations, and then leading that into the sales call. And then our closers also are very genuine with their approach. There is no closer framework. There's no objection handle, fancy terminology used. Just be a good person. Like, every sale, it shouldn't be an argument. Like, we're trying to help each other out.
You're
right?
on the same side of the table.
Yeah. And like this whole me being authority and whatever, like, it's bullshit. It just doesn't work. So it hurts for me to say this also, because whenever we were in sales groups or programs or courses, like, there's all these different terms on how to do things. And don't get me wrong, like, yes, there is a methodology when it comes to like trying to sell somebody on your services, but you don't need to get all fancy with it. At the end of the day, they're going to smell the fact that you're trying to sell them on something. They know that they're there to be sold on something. So why don't you just address the elephant in the fucking room and just have a conversation, and be a real person. And I'm sure that it'd be so much harder to break that relationship than it is a transaction with tens of the thousands of calls that they probably booked for that week.
Yeah.
So I think, like, on a sales standpoint, like, I just feel very heavily about this because we've gotten so much pushback about that in the past, of people telling us like, no, you need to follow this specific script and this framework. And we don't even give our team scripts. It's like, hey, this is the product, this is the frame, and this is the goal of every conversation. And we'll role play. And I mean, they're doing amazing because now, well, especially B2B, right? There's really no emotional buy-in. The pain is that they want to make more money. That's common for everybody, right? But B2C, I understand that there is a little bit more of an emotion. But even with that, you don't need to ask them directly how they feel about something. Like, if you could read the room in the conversation, you could easily sniff that out.
B2C is a little bit different. I think that there is
the approach is different.
Yeah, and I think there should always be a script, but like the scripts that we use they're mostly questions that you need to ask in order to get to the goal.
Not like you have to say this.
We still give them scripts. It's just like, it's more like bullet points of like the milestones that they need to cross. But I think there are more in B2C. There's a little bit more of an emotional pull. There is a little bit more of coming off as an authority, I think, in my opinion, because I think someone just does. The average person in B2C, I think, wants to be led.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think like the frame, like B2C and B2B is different. I think B2B, it's an even playing field. And B2C, yes, there needs to be someone controlling the conversation. But think about it. Like, if you're going to press a consumer and hard close them, how many times do they dispute the transaction? Ask for a refund, a chargeback, or they get into the program and then they start dipping out because they get buyer's remorse. So like, across the board, just have a genuine approach and people can sense that and feel that out. But that's like, in a nutshell, like what we do. And then on top of that, we also use an AI appointment setter. So we obviously made a huge pivot, like in the very beginning stages where we were just a marketing agency. But what made you want to implement a conversational AI, or like what even got you the idea of implementing that into our business?
I was really tied to the business model that we created too.
Yeah, but it was so random.
I've told the story a couple of times. What happened was we had a gym closer. It was a marketing agency for gyms. Gym owners don't like to call their leads. That's just a thing in the world that we have to live with.
They don't have time.
So I was like, I need to separate myself from the competition. And we don't have the budget right now to like start, and neither do gym owners. Gym owners don't have the budget to hire us if we were to start like giving them appointment setters and hiring appointment setters, because that's like a pretty high ticket service that they would have to pay for. Right. And not a lot of gym owners just are ready to pay for that type of service. So I was like, what can I do? And I started researching how to create a conversational AI appointment setter. Eventually I get it down, I build it, and I start building it into the systems of the gym owners that we're using. And then it was working well. So we started running ads, conversational AI for gym owners, and the opt-ins that we were getting were not gym owners. They were just business owners in general. They were like, hey, I saw the AI appointment setter. And we were like the only people running ads for this at the time. They're like, yeah, I see that you guys use an AI appointment setter. I think this could work for my business too, but I'm not a gym owner. So I was like, you want to give me money? I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, like for sure.
So we started building our portfolio of clients that weren't just gyms. Yeah. And then we made the decision, which was a hard one. I was like,
shiny object syndrome, or
but at the same time, I was like, this is a really good opportunity, and there's obviously product market fit if I'm advertising for one avatar and all avatars are going for it. Yeah. So I said, let's go for it. Now we're Active Solutions, and I actually used ChatGPT to make that name. Active Solutions
you
AI.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was like, give me a list of 10 names. We're going to be an AI agency for, I
Wait,
don't know.
really? I thought
don't
you
know.
just thought of it.
No, I don't know what
Oh,
the prompt
shit.
was.
Okay.
And then I got the name. I was like, oh, this is cool. I think I narrowed it down between two. It was Active Solutions AI or it was Client Connect.
Ugh, I don't like that one.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I hope there's not a business with that
Yeah,
name.
I actually made a logo for both of them too.
Okay.
Remember the blue Active Solutions logo? That was like the first one I made.
Uh-huh.
And then we got one professionally made after things started working
I
a lot
have the
better.
T-shirt with the old one on it. I'm
So
pretty
do
sure.
I. Yeah, I still wear it. Yeah. But yeah, that's how everything worked out.
Oh,
And I made the name
man.
with AI and everything. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're really going for this AI thing. So
Yeah. But you know what? It's interesting because AI is just flashy, but like Active Solutions, there's just so much more depth to what we do. But
yeah.
I mean, but in a nutshell, like you make such a solid point. Like if we could just get it through business owners' heads that you are more valuable as a company, the less you try to outsource all of the things that you need for your business, especially like the essential aspects of your business. So go
I was
ahead.
going to say, and that might confuse people, but if you think about it, like your company always has a value.
Right.
Right. When you're building a company. And when anybody looks at your company to value it or like private equity or whatever it might be, there's a lot of things that they look at.
So many variables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they look at your company and they see that the entire weight of your entire company is held by a foundation of other people's companies,
Yeah.
that does not look good. Because if any one of those companies goes down, your company goes down with it.
Yep.
Which is a huge liability.
The ripple effect is going to be pretty bad.
Yeah. And so that's a huge liability. Private equity companies, that will look at that and think that that's a liability. So your company becomes more valuable the more sustainable that it is, which means what if you have everything in-house?
Right.
Even your marketing. If you're not utilizing a marketing agency and you have marketers in-house and you're doing a really good job with acquisition, you can rely on yourself for that.
You're generating your own leads.
If you have multiple different acquisition channels, if you're using YouTube ads, Facebook ads, cold outreach, your company's more valuable because if Facebook ads gets shut down, you still have YouTube and cold outreach, which means you're still going to be able to have reliable acquisition channels, even if any of these pillars falls. So there's a lot of things that it's really just about business sustainability and longevity, I think, that makes your business more valuable. And we pride ourselves on giving you the tools and the resources and being there to help businesses scale with AI while still either maintaining or improving your value so that you don't have to go out and outsource every single thing.
Yeah. And I think like when we sign clients up and they complain and they're like, this is way more work. I'm like, gee, this is what it takes to run a business, unfortunately. And it may sound easier and way more flashy to just outsource everything because it's easier and just, like obviously with your limited bandwidth, if you're just starting off on your own, you may think like it's a better idea to just outsource all these things left and right. But like you said, if you're looking at the long term of things, it is so much better to bring everything in-house. So one thing I am proud of with Active Solutions is that we actually practice what we preach. It's not like we have this flashy guarantee or like we don't have one because it all depends on obviously the client and the work that they're willing to put into the process. We have a blueprint and a process that we know works for sure if you follow it. And if you look at all the data across all the couple hundred clients that we have over the last year, the ones that follow the process are scaling rather quickly and having really great results versus the people that give us so much pushback and don't understand the process.
You know what's crazy?
What?
There are some of our clients, like the ones that are the most successful, it's almost like they outgrow. I don't want to say they outgrow us, but there's people that like don't even respond to us. Like we reach out, try to check on them.
Dude,
and then finally we get a hold of them. They're like, oh, sorry, we've just been so busy. And I'm like, what the heck, dude?
Yeah,
like,
I know. We're like chop liver. No, I know,
no,
but
it's
they're great.
It's funny. No, but it's, I think that's just a funny concept is like they follow the process, they use all the tools and resources, and then like they become too busy with their new business that they can't even respond to our outreach when we're just doing like our checkups.
I know,
trying to
right?
see how they're doing.
Yeah, that is funny to see.
Yeah.
But it's great too because we have clients that are happy. We have clients that are doing well. And that's all we want. We want anybody that comes to Active Solutions to scale, their businesses. And obviously like the level of support that we give, because we give a prompt engineer that can prompt their AI assistant to basically do whatever they want. We have account managers that can literally just make sure that their numbers are there. And then we also have a Go HighLevel specialist, which is the CRM that we utilize. And if anything breaks, immediate, just somebody to help them. So like the amount of clients that lean on us as well has been really rewarding. You know what I mean? Just to have that connection and just talk about business, because we work with so many different niches. But at the end of the day, to be a successful business, you got to put in the work.
Yeah, 100%. I think one concept that we can end on is, and this is a conversation that I had with a home service business owner one time who was running a business for like 25 years, but he was stagnant for a long period of time. And I was 100% straightforward. And I was just like, there's a difference between you and where you are in business and someone who's in a worse location, was given, started their company with less money and is now doing better than you are. And it's not because they have a better marketing agency or better conversational AI tools. It's because they're a better entrepreneur if they got there faster. In the end, the same thing with like Olympians. All Olympians have nice shoes, right? But they're not Olympians because they have nice shoes. You know what I mean? They still had to be really consistent and put in the work to become that good.
Yeah.
And the nice shoes, I mean, they're cool tools because they have to train, right? But it's not going to make or break them. Yeah. And that's the same thing with any service that you utilize. As much as I want every business owner to come and use Active Solutions and think that like we are the end all be all.
We're just like this like magic wand that just makes your business
successful. As much as I would
successful.
like to say that, I'm very realistic. And we have really good tools and we have a blueprint that we know can scale businesses, but you have to be the entrepreneur that is going to run a multi-million-dollar business and use our tools to help. Don't rely on somebody else's company to make or break your company.
Yes, just having like full ultimate control. But I like that we are actually pretty transparent about that from the beginning. And I think that's what really separates us from everybody else, which is a slower approach versus us just throwing out all these guarantees on our ads and promising all these results. But we're real about the expectations. And I think that's what's made us really close with our clients, because we were absolutely real about everything. And every time somebody comes to us that's like, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm like, well, you probably are not scaling because you've been doing it poorly for 20 years straight. And just like you said, versus somebody who comes into business and they're doing way more successful with the same resources, same environment, same opportunity.
Yeah. You have to drop the ego and just realize like you aren't that good. And that's, I mean, if you've been running the business for 20 years, just like you said, and you're in the same place, you're not that good. So
you're not.
Drop your ego and be willing to learn. There's a lot of people who try to fight us on everything that we do, give us direction on what we need to do for them. And we're like, that's not how it works.
No.
Like you're going to be doing the exact same thing and using our tools to amplify what's going wrong. And that's not what we're here for.
We just want your business to be successful.
100%.